Okay, joined by Chairman Danny Hunter for the Chairman's Summer Update. Danny, last time we were here, Glasshouse, it was in May. This place is looking a lot different. Since then, we've obviously opened for the first home pre-season game at Watford. Can you just give us a talk through about how much work went into getting that ready, especially in that last week?
Which wasn't just the last week. I mean, over the last 16 months, we've probably spent the best part of £2.5 million. So, again, we had to change the entrances, and we had a single road coming in, and that's now been a double road that's been created. We've got a barrier system, CCTV. We've created a broadcast compound, with underground cables, etc. Because the WSL has become a sort of highly commercial broadcast asset, I suppose, to the women's game, and we've been looking after the Arsenal women for 25 years plus. So this glasshouse was really an extension of all those things. I mean, as you know, we built Oscars, and at the same time, at the moment, I'm just revamping and rebuilding the gallery suite. And so the glasshouse was something that we looked at as part of the last summer's works, but we ran out of time. So what we did all the works we could up to a point, and then as we come to the end of last season, we stepped forward, and then crashed this out. But we literally had sort of 6-7 weeks to do it. And so everything from the stone floors to the stage to the TVs to, you could imagine, the electrics, the retractable roofs, and it was described as a Meccano set, and it's the most expensive Meccano set, and the Meccano set didn't go together or fit together too well. So I've now got to replace 3 roofs in September at some stage, but yeah, we managed to get ourselves open for the Watford game. We're opening now for match days. It'll be ready for the women when they come back. Hopefully, they'll be successful at the World Cup. They've just beaten Denmark 1-0, so we've qualified out of the group already. And again, we've got the Arsenal development here, and so lots and lots of the progress we needed to make over the last 16, 17, 18 months has been done. The money, I think, has been spent wisely, and it's now really a case of me convincing the supporters, the manager, the players, and the staff that it's still a cautious approach from me. It's still a case that we build the club from the bottom up, and we've got Arsenal tomorrow, and then obviously we then start the league programme.
Has this probably been one of your busiest pre-seasons, not just in terms of labour, but also in terms of financial input you've put into the club? Is this one of the busiest you can remember?
Well, I've got great partners and great sponsors. Sometimes as a chairman or an owner, you've got to have deep pockets, and sometimes you have to future-proof your club. It's not like Wrexham or a lot of the clubs. I haven't got other owners or partners who can subsidise that. So I have to make sure that, whatever I do, I can underwrite and underpin. Whether it's whatever that is. I mean, my company's not Boreham Football Club, but my other companies, always have to be in a position where, should the rainy day come for Boreham Wood, whether it's a pandemic or whatever, I've got to make sure that I'm ready to cover that. So it's probably easier now than it was 25 years ago when I first purchased the club, because experience gives you that, and you tend to see a bigger picture, and sometimes you have to block the noise out and go with your instincts, because whether it's your staff or the supporters or whoever it is, sometimes they can be very good at blowing in your ear, but invariably It's because it's can I have, I want, I need, and me, and sometimes you have to balance all that up, because no matter what, you know, it's important that the club's here tomorrow, in the future, and I've got an eye, you know, I've got one eye on the south end of the ground, because as we near the home end, and I finish the gallery suite and Oscars, the car parks and the roads in and the North Bank and all things in between, it's still the away entrance in the football leagues. 5,000 capacity is something that we've got to be ready for, because our ambition is to one day put the club in the EFL, and you know, we've knocked on the door a few times, and maybe if we keep knocking, it'll open one day.
Yeah, we've had a brilliant pre-season lineup. When you look at the likes of having 2,500 here for West Ham, over 2,000 for Chelsea, is that something that's been really positive for you?
Yeah. I mean, remember, a lot of these are community initiative tickets that we've done as well, and it's there's a difference now. There's a difference in feel. When people are bringing their kids in now, it's, you know, you see the initiatives we've done with the season tickets. You know, we made sure with the season tickets they could choose any 3 from 5 of the pre-season games. They got free Wood Army replica shirts. We've done lots of community initiatives all over the summer. We did the Twin Towning initiative with Showham last Sunday. So there's lots and lots of stuff as a community guy. Remember, I live local, you know, my grandchildren live local, my kids live local. So, you know, I want the club to be a legacy, you know, when I leave, you know, the club. I want it to be a legacy to, you know, step-by-step progress, you know, because anything worth having, you know, I don't need to rush it. I just need to make sure I don't rush to make a wrong decision, and I know that can frustrate some of my supporters, or my supporters, our club supporters, because we live in a world of instant news, instant success. It's, you know, they want everything yesterday. You know, but sometimes, you know, you need to build a better tomorrow, and that takes time, and it takes vision, it takes investment, it takes planning, and it takes partnerships. And they're the things over the last 25 years I've worked hard on. And so no, it hasn't been more difficult this summer. The last summer was a lot harder for me, because obviously I had to deal with contaminated soil, I had to deal with trenches and foundations and everything else. It's been a little bit more controlled this year, but still pressured, still demanding. But if you have partners like Arsenal, and if you have some of the sponsors that I've got, you know, these people, you know, they want what they want, and it's my job to see if we can't accommodate that. And so that's really what this summer's been.
Talking about partnerships, then, we welcome Arsenal 11 tomorrow. Are you looking forward to this occasion?
I am for the town. I mean, it's not an Arsenal first team. You know, I mean, they're in America. I'm not sure how many of the senior players will come who haven't gone out to the States. But it's always a lovely day. It's a community day. You know, they bring the mascot Gunnosaurus, but for me it's more about meeting old friends, and as I say, I think tomorrow I've got my old friend David Miles coming, who was the club and company secretary for Arsenal until his retirement. I've got old friends at Arsenal coming, like Pat Rice, and that type of thing. So they're the things I look forward to, and you know, they haven't seen the glass house. They haven't seen the hospitality that will be on offer at Oscars and those type of things. They won't have driven up the drive since last summer, and the whole thing's been transformed. So on that thing, I think I'm rightly proud of what we've done. And a bit like a Labrador, sometimes you hope they like it, and they might pat you on the head and say, well done. But we'll see.
Looking ahead then, obviously the builds continue to improve around Meadow Park. What else are you planning to improve for in the future?
Well, I've just smashed through the gallery suite, and I'm trying to have that ready. And the gallery suite, as you know, was the home bar that's outside of the stadium. So I'm trying to turn that into a sort of a breakfast room and an analytical room for Luke and the first team. And then it'll become a rec room for the students that we have on our academy. And then it can be a sort of Swiss Army knife. It can be a hired facility. If someone wants a wedding shower, meetings, funeral, that type of stuff. And so again, it's just another addition, because the most important part when you're a small club like us, and I have to remind people we're a small club, you know that by our attendances, but it is important that we have diverse income streams, because then you're never dependent on one particular person, partner, sponsor, whatever that is. And I've always ensured that if I'm going to rely on anybody, I'll rely on myself, because when I look myself in the mirror, I can't lie to myself. I need to make sure that, as I said earlier, I can underpin whatever I'm spending.
Yeah. So looking ahead to the season, you mentioned in our earlier interview back in May that this was one of the biggest budgets that Luke's ever been given. How are you feeling, and what are your expectations for the season ahead?
It's the same every season. I'm always asked that question. Am I pleased with the business? Not really, because it's too early to say. Am I pleased with some of the signings? Absolutely. But it's very difficult at this stage to say who the hits and the misses are going to be. And probably the best example of that I can think of off my head is, say, Sadio Mane. I mean, when he left Liverpool to go to Bayern, he was a Champions League winner, got goals, pressed, tenacious, just an all-round top class player, and it didn't work for him. Yeah. So you can never really. There's never anything that's nailed down in football. I think it's not a science, although people will pretend it is, and you just never know what will succeed at one club, and it might not succeed at another. So, I mean, at the moment we've signed Timmy Abrahams, Tom Whelan, Mo Sagaf, Kwesi Appiah, and Angelo Balanta. I think I've nailed it. And again, every one of them on their day, are top level players. But again, we'll have to see how that goes. I mean, it's no secret Angelo's come here, but his injury record over the last few years hasn't been great. So we'll see if we can get 30 or 40 games out of him and see how that goes. But as I say, sometimes when you're a club at our level, you have to take a punt. And you have a punt sometimes on when you know people's characters, you know what they can achieve. And sometimes, that works for you, and sometimes it doesn't. We've also had a number of players that turned us down for various reasons. And we've had a number of players whose agents have turned us down because we can't get to their wants and needs, and it had very little to do with what a player wanted, more what was in the goodie bag for them.
Yeah. Just finally then, Danny, we'll talk about season tickets. Today is the final day that supporters can secure their early bird offer. We're hovering around just below our target, I think, around 850 season tickets. Before the season, would you be happy with that number, and how are you feeling with the season tickets this year?
Well, firstly, we're over. We've gone over today.
Oh, brilliant.
So we had a target of 850 season tickets. I'm really pleased. I mean, remember, there was a slight increase. Myself and Grant Morris, who's the supporters liaison officer, we put it out to the supporters, what did they think was a fair price and how might we go about that, and that's where we came up with a 3 from 5 pre-season offer. We came up with the Wood Army replica shirt and everything else, and we created a little bundle. And so, no, I'm thrilled. This is the most it's ever been. We're still 8 days away from the season starting, and you know, there's still a lot of other things that we need to do. And so no, I'm delighted with that. I am cautious and worried about the streaming service from the league, because that's an unknown. I'm worried about how it will affect our crowds on Wednesday nights. Hence, we've gone to Wednesday nights, so hopefully we might pick up a few more streams, and we won't be competing with perhaps some of the bigger London clubs. So we're hoping that will help us with our attendances, and everything else that we want to do in terms of with our academy. Our recruitment's gone well, and again I think our academy boys arrive back in the main next week. So yeah, their kits are purchased. You remember with all my academy kids, you know, a lot of my kids come from disadvantaged backgrounds, and I have to be very aware of that. So all the kids who come on the course, I make sure I underpin, you know, their training kits, and so that's all free. They get a free season ticket, which gives them something to do on a Saturday, and they can also see some of the players who are coaches put into practice what they're preaching out on the training pitch. So again, that's the reasons why the club has to be structured properly. It has to be layered, and I think of, you know, when I came here, and you know, I remember our times in the Southern Eastern Division. I remember our times in the Ryman North, and a lot of our supporters now don't remember those times. But we've built steadily, and we just have to see how we go this season. You know, every season at this time, I'm quite cautious. Some, you know, optimistically cautious at times, but I'm cautious because if you get it wrong, you only got to get it wrong once. You're back in the Conference South, and then it's a long haul back to get back to the National Premier League. And again, anybody who gets complacent, anybody who thinks that you know, they're bigger than they are, whether you're Yeovil or York in the past, or Stockport in the past, and all these others that went straight through the trapdoors, you'll get found out. And so we need to understand who we are, what we are, and why we're here. And sometimes I do have to remind the supporters, you know, be careful what you wish for, you know, because this is a difficult division to be in.
Lovely. Thank you, Danny.
Okay, God bless.